Hello traders, it's Yanis here from Nikos Trading Academy, and I would like to welcome you to another weekly results video from our live room. Okay, I have chosen 5-6 pair I think. Well, let's see what happened this week. We had good trades, we had volatility, especially GBP pairs of course due to Brexit, and let's start with gold. We had an uptrend. We already know that when gold is moving, it's moving. And we saw at the beginning of the week a nice retracement, and after applying our rules and our strategy, we found an entry with 50 pips. Our target was 200, more than enough to create our win-win scenario. And of course, for those that kept their last position running, price is already 220 pips. Of course, you had your incremental profits here, and that means of course not only 320, but it's like 50, 150 plus 300, more than enough. Okay, so only with 50 pips APO we got 6 times our risk, so I think this is quite good. Also on USD yen we saw a nice retracement. It was of course a late entry. M12 was our dominant setting, so we decided to take the trade. You could have gone long, of course, even with higher risk, no problem. This was an APO of 40-45 pips, and price is already now with a win-win scenario, and our last position is 110 pips, and let's say 2% or twice our APO in this case. On Euro Yen, finally, after waiting for some time the wedge to break, we saw also another opportunity. Our entry was of course after our 1 to 3. We took the trade. This was 40 pips on APO, and right now you can see price is already 120 pips. 3% for sure only in Euro Yen. On GBP New Zealand dollar we got stopped out. We saw price reaching our resistance area, double tops. We saw an opportunity on an M6 entry. No harm done. Our APO was only 37-40 pips. We got stopped out, no problem, it happens, it's part of the game, and that is why we have our APO to protect our account. Next was New Zealand dollar. You remember a big range on M24. We've been bouncing this range up and down for some time. Again, what happened here, we went in early on the trade. Our last position went all the way down to 110 pips. Let me go back on my settings. You can see here was my bounce, my setup, first, second target really quickly. My last position closed at 110 pips after price started retracing and actually going long. Some of you are already long, and remember this is your target. So New Zealand dollar CAD, because we had only 13 pips account protection order, our last position went 110. That's more or less, I think it's more than 8%. So quite nice trade with risking only 10-15 pips and getting 110 only with our last position. On CAD Yen we saw a nice resistance area breaking, a setup appearing. That was not the first one. We had already another opportunity, but we are talking about this week. So this was also a nice entry, 50 pips more or less APO, 130 win-win scenario, and probably your last position got stopped out with 40 pips if you have trailed your account protection order on M12 settings. So for sure we got here twice plus our APO. Last pair, the ones that I have chosen, it's GBP USD. We had a combined entry with lower settings. We had enough room to go for our win-win scenario. Again, this was more or less like 40 pips. Price reached 270. Incremental profits for sure were taken on 120 pips, probably because you trailed your account protection order. You got stopped out with 180 pips. So with 40 it was like 40, 80, more than 360 pips. Okay, I will count only my last position, and this is like 4%. In total this week we had 970 pips, and that was more than 20%. Actually it was 25%. I'm saying more than 20 because we can deduct 2, maybe 3% because we got stopped out, which wasn't 2 or 3%, but I'm large in this part. So I think 25% or 20% within a week, or 970 pips, it's quite good. Thank you very much for watching another video. Have a great weekend, and see you again as always Monday morning with our top-down approach. Bye bye everybody.